Welcome to Get Over It, the Consciousness Transforming Podcast for exceptional 21st century living. We have a very enchanting show today. Dr. Kac Young is back with us, and you guys know she's a friend of the show. You know she always brings it when she shows up. And today we're going to be talking about her latest book that I have, and that is Living the Faery Life, a guide to connecting with the magical power and joy of the Enchanted Realm. And folks, a lot of you guys might not think fairies are real, but guess what? They are. We're going to cover that more in depth in a moment, and they can actually help you. So, this is a great time. We're just past Halloween, and this is November, and getting ready for that magical season of Christmas. And this is the time to embrace your fairy, inner or outer. So we'll talk
Your
about
inner
that.
fairy. I like it.
Well, I think we all have one, right?
I think that'll be my next book, Embracing Your Inner
Inner
Fairy.
fairy,
Oh,
yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, well, before the podcast started, folks, we talked about doing podcasts from the other side, like, one of us, me being on the other side and doing a podcast with her. So we'll see if that happens about 20 years from now. But for right now, we're going to talk about fairies. So the information shared on Get Over It uses intuitive and pragmatic insight to help you shift your consciousness to break through blocks and release energy that is no longer needed. Yes, we're going to help you let go of the BS that's holding you back. The fairies will too, but I always ask that question, are you truly ready to? And by the way, folks, BS is belief system. A bit about me for my new listeners, intuitive since birth. I'm a third generation intuitive with over 3 decades of experience supporting people to break through the blocks along their path. I'm a strategist for personal and professional transformation, revealing cutting edge information that enables you to prosper and thrive. I spent 25 successful years in corporate America as an executive sales professional, and I'm the founder of Healing Visions Ministries and the Northern California Children's Education Network, a 501c3 nonprofit. I provide consultations and healings in all areas of life that heal the mind, body, spirit connection, allowing you to live your very best life. My clients tell me that I keep it real while providing them with accurate information to assist them along their journey as a spirit living a human existence. But they also say, if you really don't want to know, don't ask Monique. My background includes a doctorate in metaphysics, Reiki master teacher, ordained minister, and clinical hypnotherapist. So whether you are stressed, depressed, or possessed, I can help. To find out more about me and the services I offer, go to my website, and that's MoniqueChapman.com. And I invite you to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn. My guest today, my very dear friend, Dr. Kac Young, has been a TV producer, folks. She worked in General Hospital. Okay, that's not shabby at all. And she's been in the Hollywood TV industry for over 25 years. She also earned a PhD in natural health and a doctorate in naturopathy. She studied at Baylor University, and clients come to her for advice on health, nutrition, and spiritual well-being. She has a third doctorate degree. She's a busy lady, and that's in clinical hypnotherapy. And she helps people with a wide variety of issues with the hypnotherapy. So you can, talk to her about that when you give her a call for some services. Kac is also a licensed religious science minister, a certified archetypal therapist and counselor, and she is a certified meditation teacher and career coach for young actors and directors. And guess what, folks? She even flew airplanes, okay, private planes. And she's currently working on her Black belt in Aikido and is a certified medical Qigong instructor. And you can find out more about her by going to her website at CacYoung.com. And folks, I have to tell you about the Qigong. I was struggling maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and she directed me to some Qigong exercises. And wow, powerful. I didn't think they were working at all. I'm like, oh, this is a waste of time. The next morning I got up and I was like, oh my God. Okay. So this lady knows her stuff. So welcome back, Kac.
Thank you so much, Monique. Thank you very much. It's always an honor to be on your show and a great deal of fun. I mean, you said I bring it. I don't know what it is, but you have it. So I think me bringing and you have it, we have We create some fun. That's
Yeah,
indeed true. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
you're welcome. We're the it girls in the spiritual realm. So there you go, folks. We're the it girls. So your book, Living the Fairy Life. Let's start at the very basics and explain to folks what exactly is a fairy. Because I think some people think that it's like childhood fairy tales or stories, and they're not real.
Right. Well, I'm not sure that, rest in peace. Walt Disney did us any favors when he created
Mm,
Tinkerbell, because that is what a fairy is not, N-O-T. Fairies are supernatural beings that are connected to the energies of the planet, to nature, to stars, and to the domains under the earth. So they're supernatural beings. They're not these little bitty things with wings and magic fairy dust, although they do know how to do magic. Now, the legends have it that the fairies are actually the Tuatha Dé Danann, and they are the people of Ireland that
mhm,
fought 3 wars to retain their land, but they finally succumbed to the magic of the Malaysians, and they were from the north coast of Spain. So when the Malaysians won that battle, they said to the Tuatha, we don't want to we kind of love you, so we don't want to banish you, but we need to be in control. So we're going to give you the underground. You have under the earth to live and thrive, and we're going to rule the earth and above. So yes, we'll plow the fields, but you can have the underground. And so the Tuatha were enlightened people, and so they said, hey, this is better than nothing. We'll definitely create our civilization underground and
mhm,
out of sight. So that's why there are mounds in Ireland. That's why you see reverence to trees that are growing, that are rooted in the earth and grow up. People will build highways around the fairy trees. There is a way that the Celtic people had of living in harmony with things they could not see. And
mhm,
they were like brothers and sisters to the unseen. They were part of their lives. They lived according to nature. They lived when the sun rose and the sun set. They lived with the cycles of the moon. They followed the seasons, and they were very much in tune with nature. So it became second nature to them to create the fairy kingdom. And they did so by uniting even more so with the natural forces of the earth and planet. So fairies are energy. They are supernatural beings connected to all of the energies of the planet, but they are specific little bundles of energy that we can recognize because they have the magical ability of changing shapes and changing forms.
mm. Okay, so will a fairy ever appear to us in human form?
They can, but our trick, and this is why I wrote the book. I want to just tell you a little bit about that for a second, and then I'll answer that
No
question.
problem.
I had pitched another book to Brenda Knight of Mango Publishing, and Brenda had said, I don't want the book you're pitching, but would you write a book on fairies? And I said, okay. And then I sat down to write this book, and I literally wrote it in about 4.5 weeks because the fairies used me as
Mm,
a typist, and they just wanted this information to be in the world now so that people would not think that they were Tinkerbell or think of them as hateful little destructive forces, but they would see them as the good energies that they are and the powerful energies. And so, because they can shapeshift, because they can transform, they will appear to us in a form that we can recognize. Now, that could be, just use your imagination there. It can be, any physical form that our eyes can see, that our nose
mhm,
can smell. But what we have to do, and this is such a lesson in spirituality and metaphysics for all of us, is we have to prepare ourselves for their arrival. And that means we have to get over ourselves, to quote a friend of mine, and really get rid of our BS, our belief systems, and become a person that the fairies want to talk to and to interact with. Now, what does that mean? That means we have to understand what matters to them. We have to understand their language, in quotes, if you will. And we have to really prepare ourselves to connect with spirits from the other world, not deceased spirits, but living, active spirits. And when we do that, they will show up in our lives.
Wonderful. They'll show up in our lives in interesting ways. I recently redid part of my front lawn and took the grass out, and I've got stones and rocks and flowers and all of that. And this lady, she'd come by every day and she would stand there and look at it for 2 minutes. I'm like, what's up with this? So one day she knocked on the door, and this is like 3 days ago, and she goes, "You planted a fairy kingdom." And I'm like, oh, okay. But I didn't see it. Okay, but that's what she got from that. So even though I didn't see it or recognize it as a fairy kingdom, I thought it was something else. She was able to tune in and see the fairy energies there. I thought that was really interesting because the person who created it didn't even see it.
Well, and you know how much I love that, Monique. This is true. Some of us, well, you are, intuitive, you are psychic, you have all these connections with the higher energies. And so even if you were going to paint a house, you would paint your house some way in what the fairies would appreciate it. You just have that natural talent. So of course you would make that garden. And the woman who recognized it, some people are walking around and they've been fairies in a past life. They have
Mm,
definitely had that transformation themselves, or they've been really, really connected to them in a past life. And it doesn't mean yesterday's past life. It could be, way beyond. Of course, that is if you believe in reincarnation. And I
right.
like to think of it as the rolling over of the spirit.
Hmm.
So yes, I mean, if you created a land, it means that it is joyful, that it is a place that you want to be, that it puts your spirit at ease, and that there's playful things back there. Whatever it is you planted, it must be appealing to the fairies. And I wrote about that in my book. I listed all the herbs that they love, the flowers that they love, the trees that they relate to. I wanted everybody to know how to catch a fairy, not in a jar, please, please, please.
No.
But how to really attract them. And once they see that you are open to them and you want to connect, they will slowly show up for you. One of the best ways, if you have a tree in your front yard, is you can decorate around it with little fairy-like things. First of all, the children in the neighborhood will just flock to
Hmm.
that tree. Little sparkly things, little painted rocks, pretty flowers, things that blow in the wind, anything that lifts your spirit. See, fairies are here. Their job is to keep us light, to keep us laughing. The fairies laugh like crazy if they find a two-headed carrot or a two-rooted carrot. They laugh if they see a potato that is grown, arms on it.
Hmm.
They are thrilled, they're childlike in their thrill of life. And what they bring to us is that reminder that this is a mirthsome, whimsical life, that we can't, no matter how stressed we are and what's going on, find the fun, find the pretty, find the lovely, find something that uplifts you and go there. That's what they're here for. They're here to keep us from being depressed and down and all wrapped up in our ego and our lives.
Hmm. Well, it's interesting. You talked about, what we call in quotes, imperfect fruit or imperfect vegetables. And those are the ones that are actually healthier because they have more of whatever they're giving to the earth. So the
Yes.
fairies are definitely, helping us with that. So yay to the fairies. Now, how many different types of fairies are there?
Well, isn't that interesting? I have divided it into, or with their help, and I mean, this isn't a channeled book. I wouldn't claim that. I mean, it might be, but it's a book where I literally sat down and I knew what to write. I told my stories, and I brought those stories out where I've had connections with fairies, and the the way that it just manifested through here is a way that they wanted their truth out there. They wanted to be able to contact people more. They want to open those gates and say, look, we're all in this together, and they will uplift us. Remember, they won the war. They won it
Mhm.
in their own way, and the decision was just. So we're dealing with a race of people that rise up in the face of calamity.
Mhm. Now, there's always polarity in life. So, is there a such thing as negative fairy, the fairy that doesn't wish well on everyone?
Well, I came across a website in my research, and this woman has like 365 types of fairies, and
Mhm.
they and there are the yin yang sort of fairies that we would think about in various cultures. The and I think that it comes from a place where humans, our nature is we want to put blame on something. We want to
Mhm.
attribute cause. So if something bad happens, we want to say, oh, the fairies did it, or so and so did it. We don't want to be accountable. But when we start living a life as fully accountable for our actions and our thoughts and our deeds, then we look at the fairies as being a key to unlock new opportunities for us. So if something has happened and somebody blames a fairy, the energy itself is not negative, but they will respond to what we put out. So remember, they're energies that are connected to the planet, nature, stars, and the domains of the earth. They're energies. So if they are attacked, confronted, or in some way disrespected, that's a
Mhm.
huge thing in fairy life. If they're disrespected, then they will react. um, they do not cause catastrophic harm. They're not going to make the volcano explode. They're not going to do that. That's not fairy energy. But they will let you know if you are like, if somebody came in, let's just say somebody came in and trashed your whole garden, the
Mhm.
fairies would be upset. Okay, they would be upset, and there something would be done. Probably not to you, but somehow that person who did that malicious
Mhm.
act of, they defaired it. Uh,
Mhm.
something would occur in their lives that would remind them that this was not cool.
Okay, so like the energy you put out is coming back at you.
Bingo. So, and with the fairy, so that's why it works, on the positive side too. If you want connections with fairy, prepare yourself, open your heart, read in my book about what matters to the fairies, read the rules, read the
Mhm.
etiquette. There is definite fairy etiquette, and it's different than ours. They are, go back 1500 years about how people behaved. They were very polite. They weren't rude. They
Mhm.
spoke in a different type of language. They would never call someone the A word. They would never, they
Mhm.
don't like heavy metal rock music because it destroys the soul in their world. They like lighter tunes. They like
Mhm.
classical music. They like, and they have a dissonant set of chords in their own music, and things like, they will sing to you. You will hear them once you open your senses. Once you say, I really want to touch the fairy world, then read about it, by Living the Fairy Life, and read about it, and
Mhm.
and prepare yourself. And then the fairies will begin to show up in different ways. You might hear a song. You might see something fun happen in your garden. I have a dear friend in New York who has a very special tree in Central Park. She calls it Treely. And she goes and meditates by Treely, and she'll leave things for the fairies. We have a project together about her life, a script I've written, and she goes to Treely and she leaves all the wishes we have, and the things will disappear for a day, 2 days at a time, and then they will reappear. And it's amazing to what they do. And she also lives part-time in Glastonbury, England. She has a cottage there, and the same thing will happen in her garden. So it's a matter of being open. And I have had so many fairies show up in my life in different forms. I've had Helen the squirrel. Helen Keller was a blind squirrel. I named her Helen Keller. And Helen showed up in my life, and she brought so many gifts about love and affection and loyalty and cheerfulness. And, it was just 3 years of joy with Helen Squirrel. She came to every party I had. She attended every dinner. Sat outside the screen door, and we would share with her whatever it is we were eating. Not a lot, but she loved pasta. And one day I gave her a whole bowl of nuts. I thought, oh, this is great. I'll just pop open this can and give her this nuts, right? She picked up the nuts she wanted and left the ones that she didn't.
Okay. So she's truly living her very best life. My goodness.
Yes. And she chose us. She chose us, and she would wander around the deck on the outside, and she would, say hello in the morning. And if we weren't paying attention to her, you'd hear this little rap on the window. And it was
hello, I'm here.
Exactly. It was a squirrel. And then, and so then I would get her peanuts, and I would make sure that she had all kinds of things she wanted, and water. And it was great. And I really, I miss her so much. She just brought so much joy, and that was her job, until that was over. And then she moved on, I'm sure, to do something else. But and all my friends knew Helen. People, I think, came to visit us just to see Helen.
Well, it's interesting. A couple of days ago, my neighbor, who parks across the street from the front of my house, I saw something black under her car moving. So I went to investigate, and it was this little black bunny rabbit. Had to be somebody's pet, but it was so afraid that it wouldn't let you near it. So I went back in the house, and I got lettuce, and I gave it lettuce and put a couple of shredded carrots out there. It ate the food. It turned around, and I'm watching it from inside my house, and it turned around and looked my way, and then it scampered on to wherever it was going to go. And I was like, wow. And I thought about your book when I um, did that, because I don't see rabbits running wild. We're not out in the open spaces, and this rabbit was like sitting there waiting. And if it had waited too much longer, the people across the street probably would have ran over it, because they don't pay attention. But it knew, it was like it was calling me. And to me, I attributed that to the fairies saying that this rabbit had something to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And all we have to do is look around, be open, and watch. That's really the thing to do. Fairies are, every culture has had a way to explain the unknown. They've all, and a way to explain it to their kids. I think fairies came about because little Johnny or little Johann or little Ying as a child said, "Mommy, what why is that happening? What, I don't understand that." And parents could just say, "Well, fairy, that's from a fairy."
Yeah, and just like dismiss it.
Exactly. And it's a fairy. Don't worry about it. Or, if you had a grandmother like I did, who would sit down and tell you stories of the fairies. And I had, Celtic grandmother. And so she would tell me stories of the fairies, and many cultures, like I said, have named them and called them different things, and you'll find 365 different names and types of fairies. But and they all have their stories. I mean, there are some fairies that are birds. There are some fairies that are animals. There are some fairies that are little people. Certainly in Ireland, there are famous poets that have said that they have
Mm-hmm.
attended a fairy's funeral or they have seen a fairy funeral. Well, sure. I mean, that's the land of the little people. So wouldn't it make sense that they would
Mm-hmm.
manifest as little people to live in the mounds and to live underground? There are things too that people have been trapped by the fairies and taken into a fairy kingdom and
Mm-hmm.
absconded with. And I think that that was just an excuse for misbehaving and maybe not going home for 3 days or having too much to drink and sleeping on somebody's couch and say,
Mhm.
"Oh, the fairies! It was the fairies who took me."
Yeah,
I just think,
as the guy's wife standing there looking at him like, mm-hmm.
ah, fairies, is it? Fairies, is it, Patty? I
Uh,
don't think so.
no, not at all. But
I
you,
know.
in the book, you talk about um, fairies and crystals and fairies and essential oils. So talk to us about that for a moment, because some of the favorite fairies that you have talked about, if I wear them, the stones, I feel very different than well, this is in addition to my usual family of stones that I'm wearing. But if I wear a particular stone, it's very different. I can feel the energy. So talk to us about the crystals and fairies.
Well, okay. And again, let me preface it with just my categories.
Hmm.
I have divided the fairies into the fairies of the air, the fairies of the earth, and the fairies of the underground. And so I've matched that up not only with crystals, but also with essential oils that are like from those realms. And I think that you'll find that if you look at the the types of fairies that inhabit each realm, that you'll say, oh, okay, so these are the ones that are airborne, these are the ones that fly, and so that will work with crystals and that will work with essential oils as well. So
Hmm.
you have, and so I linked them up for people to say, well, if you want to connect with the fairies, then maybe you want to have this kind of a stone with you, or this is how they respond to those stones. And also, these are the kinds of stones you can put in your garden to attract them. And
Hmm.
yes, you will feel differently when you wear the stone, especially if you take a little bit of time to meditate with the crystal, to infuse it with your intention of having this connect with fairy energy, and let the fairies respond and put their energy into that as well. And so you can have this amazing connection with them, because there are various different elements that the stones respond to and various different elements that come from the three kingdoms or three levels of the fairies.
Hmm. Okay. And just to let folks know, my favorite fairy crystal is amethyst. I mean, it's like my child. I wear it all the time. And my favorite essential oil is frankincense. Don't know why, it just makes me feel good. So you go with the flow. How can we directly, intentionally connect with a fairy?
Okay, I'll tell you that. I would just want to make a comment too on
Mm-hmm.
the amethyst. It is nature's tranquilizer and it is a master stone for all healers. What amethyst does for you and the fairies is it connects to the vibrations of heaven and earth, the realms of the seen and the unseen. So it's like a major fairy stone. It opens the channels between you and the fairy kingdom, and for psychic connection and clairvoyance. So it that's why it's so wonderful to open the uh, I don't know, interactions between
Uh-huh.
us and fairy kingdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so how you how you work your life in order to connect with a fairy is in preparation. You prepare yourself. So wearing crystals would be good. Wearing the essential oils that they like. They love frankincense because frankincense is a sap. It's from the boswellian tree and it is a sap. And so it's very, very nature and it's rich. And you hold it up to the light and it's gold. And
Mm-hmm.
they love that. So those two things that you're doing, of course, the fairies are going to say, go to her house. She's cool. Let's be in that energy. So yeah, and we attract fairies by doing a number of things. You put the plants in your garden, you make sure you have opened yourself. You have to do some work on yourself. It's not like you just turn a switch and say, okay, fairies, I'm ready. You have to do a little work, a little preparation, because they're paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
They have highly tuned psychic abilities and intuitive abilities themselves. And so they're, if they're around you, and pretty much fairies are everywhere, they'll be watching, and they want to see you take a little cup of humility and understand that you are not the bee's knees, that there are other people out there, and maybe you want to ready yourself for this sacred journey, because it is. And ready yourself, prepare yourself, let them know by planting trees and flowers and herbs and putting crystals in the garden and sparkly things and maybe some flags, letting them know that you want to connect. And then you wait. You have to learn their language. You need to
Mm-hmm.
know how to speak to them,
Mm-hmm.
learn their etiquette, and understand what works and doesn't work in fairyland, and what to do and what not to do. I mean, there's some rules. They're not horrible rules. And you kind of say, well, wait a second, that's really old fashioned. Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very old fashioned.
But it's also setting boundaries. I mean, it's really important to, for everything that, exists, to have a certain boundary so that you attract things to you or to it, whatever it is, that is, okay, not, just allowing all types of energy. And so,
Yes, yes. And that's exactly true. And there are, I mean, I don't believe that is intentionally negative energy out there, but there are things that spin in a different direction, and you have to learn how to protect yourself, as you say. But as long as you're living an intentional life, and you're filling yourself with light and love, and you're using affirmations, and you're meditating, and you are connecting to things unseen, those energies don't want to be with you. They want control, they want to destroy, and
mhm,
the light, there is no place for darkness when you have the lights on. So keep your lights on. And one of the ways to do that is by getting to know the fairies, welcoming them in, and having a good time with them, and living your life, uh, finding humor, finding joy. And there's tons to be found. It just is it's our mindset.
mhm. It definitely is. And folks, you can enter this world anytime that you want. Now, Kac, when we go to your website, Kac Young, KACYOUNG.com, what are we going to find there?
Oh my gosh, you're going to find every book I've ever written. There's about 25.
Yeah, I was going to say, six to say, folks, get your reading list together because she's got it full for you.
And yeah, and you'll find some information about each book. I'm constantly adding to my website. It's kind of um, the water keeps evaporating. I have to keep filling the pot. So there's a lot of information there, and you can find just things that will help you live your life. I've dedicated my life to teaching and to giving people the benefit of my experience, and I've lived a bit of a roller coaster. So I've had the ups and I've had the downs, and I've shared that with people so that they can make better choices and find out where their strengths are, and move through this life with grace, ease, and laughter.
Okay, and folks, she just said it. She's gone through everything, as we all have. And, you can hear it in her voice. There's joy there, there's love there. So you can make the choice of having love and joy in your life and embrace the fairies because they're going to help you if you study up on them. Now, you got to know what you're getting into, but you study up on them, and voila, life changes for you. Kac, why don't you leave us with a word of wisdom? I always love your wisdom quotes.
Well, Living the Fairy Life was an inspired book, as far as I'm concerned. It wanted to be written. It chose me. I am still honored. And I think that it has a great deal to teach us and to teach our children. It also opens our minds to look for the positive, to create the positive, make a fairy garden, turn a tree into a little into an oasis for children. Put things in your yard that lift people's spirits, and choose to be a fairy. Choose to find the good. Choose to honor nature. Choose to respect everything around you. Make that choice, and you will find that things will flow to you, and everything that you dreamed of will begin to happen naturally, like a spring rain that just comes down and drenches your life. Open to the fairies, and I promise you, you will never regret the day you did that.
Oh, well, thank you. And folks, I agree 10,000% with her. You won't regret it, but you've got to do your study. Okay. And it's not hard study. Read, explore, and then, excuse me, take a delve into the fairy world. Well, Kac, thank you so much for being with us today as we collectively get over it. I really honor and appreciate your time and attention. And to the audience, I appreciate your time and attention also. And please remember that the most important choice that you can make is what you choose to make important. Consider making the masterful choice of entering the enchanted fairy realm. Abundant blessings, light, and love to all. Agape.